on my end, and now I'm hitting the live button. The whole thing won't be able to go into the title, BZ. So I did shorten it a little bit. Did you see what I called it?
No.
I hope that was okay. As it's coming up, recalibrating our inner/outer relationship with money and valuing of exchange between other. So we're live, and it's the Gal Pal Posse live. BZ Rieger and Lisa Flamina Rush in the house with me, Sheila Corona. This evening, let me pull us up over here on YouTube while everyone gets a chance to join us. So BZ, you want to start off by sharing with us, there we go. Sharing with us what came in for you because you brought this as a whole little package. So I'd love for you to start off if you'd like.
Yeah, just tell me how you truncated the thing so I have it written down if I want to look at it.
Oh, sure. Hold on one second. I can tell you. The way I had it is recalibrating our inner/outer relationship with money and valuing of exchange between other. So Stacy Watchell has joined us and Jennifer Brown is in the house. Ladies, you guys, I just adore you. It's been a full day here and they have been with me all day. So thank you for coming back. I'm so glad you could make it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So we're on live number 3 for the day. And
you're still live. Oh, there you go.
I know, right? I know, right? And so, well, I kind of did a little preface about this earlier for myself. I've made no secret about the fact that I don't, I think Lisa and I feel very similarly. It feels to me, even if I don't get the right language that she uses, but money feels like all money is because the collection and use thereof, in the most part, what seems to cause the most issue is at its very core, it is power over other. Money in whatever form. To me, if it has the ability to be stockpiled and used and abused accordingly, as the case may be, I don't know, it just feels like that to me. And I know there's been lots and lots and lots of things that I have not been, I don't know, able to produce for myself, all of these things that are tied up around money, the false desires implanted because you got to have this, that, and the other, advertising, all that.
Well, actually, that's great that you talked about advertising. So I think a good way to start playing is part of how this conversation was generated within me and why, and then what it actually relates to, what money, right? The Babylonian, and that was one of the later iterations of it, of the money scheme. Right. And so I'm in the places right now where I'm in the beginning stages, I'll call it, of playing with and percolating transition out of jobness and back into or forward into my own business, my own creative revenue streams, those kinds of things. And so as I was, playing, I was working on something and playing on that. And I was playing with it, and I was doing something that had to do with marketing. So when you talk about sales and all that kind of stuff. And for me, marketing is all about connections. That's basically what marketing is. You're making a connection with what it is that you're marketing, who you're marketing to, how it's creating in the community, whatever that community is that it's walked around. It's all about connections. So just in that vein, it's very helpful to understand the way that it was developed and created, that money is a form of communicating. It is a technology of communication and of a conduit for value and for what we value of things that we can feel or see or experience or that kind of stuff. And like all technologies, they kind of change and have offshoots. And so some of the offshoots of money in the communication vein is text or web or email or telephone. And for eons, it has been designed this way as this communication and conduit of value, for value. But it's been by design, it's been a one-sided party line. Like you remember, I don't know, maybe with your grandma, you might remember there was a party line, you pick up the phone and write. So it's been that kind of thing. And all can hear what's going on in the communication. All can follow the prompts, right? So I'm talking on specificity and metaphor and linear and multidimensional. All can follow the prompts of what they're hearing to do or to choose, right? But there's been no core original flow of that communication. There has been, again, the one-sided party line. And we are all complicit in it. So if you look at money of communicating value. So one of the, it's a story, I think in anthropological studies or stuff, when they're talking about, one of the earlier forms of money was with the Indians. I can't think of the, maybe the Hopi, but out in Arizona, and it was with the quahog shells. And so if you look at a quahog shell, it's a beautiful purple, it's creamy and then purple on parts of it. And so they would make beads and stuff. And so they would use that, and all along their route that traveled through different states, they would then use that as a form of currency because it was a set communication. So if we can hold it the way that it was originally designed, and so look at the way it was intended with communication. So it was communicating to all the people the technology was designed to be used on. Now, I didn't say all the people that the technology were designed to be for them. It was designed to be used on them. So because what underpins that, because it's communicating value, and most people don't understand it, but you are the value. You are actually the underpinning, and that which value creates the value is the store of value for the entire system, the entire monetary system, the entire monetary Babylonian debt slavery system. And so in that communication, they were communicating to you that, you could value these kinds of things, or you'll get this for what you value. Those instead of, and as in anything, fraud, vitiates everything else. So once that happened, because there wasn't a clear communication from, and I'm talking eons back, right? It just has gone through different iterations, that has been gone out. So people, you talked about, well, people want a stockpile of this or the shiny thing of this or the new thing, because that's one of the ways that it's, kept these slippery humans waking, not all of them, as we can look around and see, are waking up, but waking up. So you change it a little, you put a little shiny thing on, or you put it in where you're needing to make money, right? And you can never get money. The way to get it is to have it that it's created from debt with interest. So they get your interest in something. And I don't mean coin on top of the dollars. They get your interest in something. And that's part of their, their currency coming in. So they get monetary interest, but also your interest locks you back into the system. Does that make sense? So,
Well, in terms of energy harvesting, oh yeah, it
well,
sure
that
does.
yeah, but that's exactly right, because it's all, because underlying all of it is energy. It's your currency. Each one of us are the currency that supports. Why do you think money is called currency? Why do you think you have big buildings that are currency exchanges? And that's what it all came from. So if you can, you can get in. I mean, there's a whole lots of long conversations, which wasn't really what I wanted to play with, about money and Babylonian, spell and all that kind of stuff. And then there's all the new, forms of money and that kind of stuff. But it's not new if it's not doing one of two things: either going, and it's just a circuitous route back, which is to forward again. If it's either going back to original, right, where it sees and holds the true value, the true currency that underpins all of it, and or so that's kind of a back then forward way, or it completely has a method where people just, maybe they're not going back to get that and understand the whole history, which they can or don't have to,
Well,
but
I
just
was about to say,
realize that this is it. These things happen because of, just like it's your inalienable right to have this, and this, right? Everything is prepaid, pre-approved, and pre-authorized. That's the law of the universe.
well, that's kind of what when you said going back to the original, I had this clear incoming that none of us actually really know what the original of that. I don't feel. I mean, it came in very strong, and we think we know because that might be what we heard or read or what they're teaching us or whatever. And I'm sorry, but at this point, for me, uh,
Well, original that I was speaking of is nothing to do with any school that anybody's gone to would be taught, because it's
right.
based on the original blueprint, and I'm talking back. You have to be
Oh,
pre or beginning of Lemuria original. I'm like,
okay, I gotcha. Want to make sure of something because I see that Stacy said, "Is it just me or is BZ's voice stopped? Is everybody hearing everybody okay?" Lisa, do you have the Wi-Fi on your phone? Would,
Oh, yeah, I do.
would you mind turning it off just in case I did have one message come up. I can't turn mine off on my phone or we won't be seeing the chat. So,
Okay.
uh so will one of you guys let me know if you can hear BZ okay? BZ, will you just say a
you
little
are the
something?
value.
Say what now?
You are the value.
Absolutely true. Well, of course, there's this interminable delay.
So one of
Okay.
the things that got me playing, can they hear me?
Yes, Karen said we're good.
Okay. So one of
Thank
the things that got me playing on this whole thing, which is, as I said, what I was working on, what I was playing with my own and money and that kind of stuff, is to, I think it would be great to have an interactive thing where people can play with whether they want to have their own business or they want to work for someone else, or which is going to change as well. And I don't mean change like, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years down the road. Mm-mm. Like, get your head, put on tight, because you're going to get whiplash by how quick in months time that the change will start to really roll through. So a couple of things I wanted to play with is, and I mentioned a little bit a minute ago, that we're complicit in it. So we are, just like with being okay with your constitutional rights being thwarted, and you're waiting for someone to get what they used to have, like the old style in New York City, anyways, the old style campaigning, buses and stuff. They'd come in, they big mega horns, and they'd go down and say, Okay, you're free now. You can take the diaper off face. Okay, you can do this, right? And everybody would come out, and it's like the good humor ice cream man's there, and it's celebration, and it's not going to happen.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
That's right. That's not going to happen either, because we're the ones who will make that happen. We're the ones who will make that happen. And so every moment longer that we agree to that, it's going to be, for those that are agreeing to that, it's going to be that much harder in their reality to have that unfold. So when you're thinking, and so the economies will completely change. And I was taking a Zoom, international Zoom course, and someone was discussing, it was about healing. Someone was discussing some people that they had reached out to about one of the things that we were working on. And they said, that the people were intrigued by it, but they really weren't sure they liked the idea of it. And this person asked them why, and they said, well, because we'd be out of a job. So that's, again, what I talk about being complicit in. So we need to reframe completely. We recalibrate and become conscious and notice what comes out of our mouth, what's in our head, what's in our heart, right? Or actually the heart's closed and the mind's just the only thing that's involved there, in how we're holding these things and how you walk through it. So I'll give you a simple example. When we look at anyone, let's say maybe they're doing a Zoom thing, maybe they're doing a YouTube thing, one of the other video platforms, or now Telegram and some of the other Twitter-esque things they have, or Facebook will do a live or little things. So when you see that, some people are doing it to be communicating, some people are doing it because it's part of the different revenue streams that they offer. It may be part of work that they're doing as a job, any of those kinds of things. But when you see that, how much do you take part in that, and do you share your value in just that thing? Because even if there's no money asked, it's just free, it's just an experience, right? But it's value being given, right? It's a heart energy based, even if they may not call it that, right? That's being given. They're taking their time and their love of something and their knowledge and their interest, and they're giving it forth. They're presenting it to you because they want that communication. They want that exchange, right? That's heart-centered beings do that. They're exchanging that vibration all the time. So the question is, this is just a small example of how much presence of being, of heart, of mind do you invest back in that? So do you leave comments on a regular basis? And to me, a comment is expanding the conversation. Well, this part, whatever it was, when you built that part of that interesting, stool, that was cool. Or I could see, right? So you're furthering the conversation. You're exchanging that back. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take any time. But most people, in marketing, right? To go back to how we started, there's a very good metric that's sent that for every, and it may have changed a little bit since I used to do it full time, but every one person who comments, there's 25 to 30 more who thought about it, but don't, right? So right there is an example of how is it that we can't be bothered, or we're afraid, or whatever it is. Whatever the reasons are, but that's a good way to start to look at, your one of the things that we're asked to do by source when we get here is to be in mastery, be in charge, and different levels, you use different words, of our vibration. And so that value, and what you hold as your value, doing something as simple as that, right, is a way to have that exchange. And the reason that's a simple example, but a very important one, is because then we start to see that we are involved in all of these connections and in all of these conversations, and they are a conversation. And so by our involvement or not, we are then empowering ourselves or not, forget the whole rest of the world, disappeared, right? We are then how we have a place and a role and a connectivity and a voice in that conversation of value, valuing, right? And what it's bringing for us. Same thing. If you're, are you ever working with someone on the phone and they've been, maybe it's tech support. I do that a lot, and they've been really helpful. One of the first thing I say when we're all done, look, Joe, can you give me the name of your supervisor and bump me up to your supervisor? Because I'd like to take a moment to tell them that you've been amazing. Because, my hair was standing on end when I got on the call, and whew, I'm cool now, right? And they're like, first they're nervous because that's again, it's this ingrained, it's the same thing. And it's make no mistake about it. It's training and it's indoctrination from the Babylonian spell of this whole thing that we talked about, right? Where it's a one-sided party line call, and you've got the prompts, right, to do these things because you're just figure you just get kind of what you have. And they have a few poster people that they hold up on purpose, and it's a very select few that make it. Oh, this is, I got the mother load. I invented this great. It happens because it's allowed to happen, right? So do we think about that? Do we think about, and it's, sure, if you want the same thing as, hey, I got a raw deal on the phone, or I was told them wrong information, or, this happened as a result of it. I'd like to let you know that this person is not representing your company. So it works both ways. But for me, I take my time always to go out of my way to do that because I'm valuing that exchange. So we can never get to a point of recalibrating and reimagining and actually creating in a tangible way the new what was called, or still is, the money system, until we can start to actively engage in that.
Well, something that came in very strongly for me while you were speaking there is that it's really only been in the last few years. I mean, yes, I've always felt that it is our energy that, we expend, but using the word, well, the terminology of what do you value? I mean, really, when you think about value in your own life, very rarely, for me anyway, do I actually equate it to money. And maybe that's that's
spending, but you're spending. So here's this. It's like two parts of this, the same story. That's a little why I think people get confused. So you are, because you're constantly all the, this is the proverbial you're, the royal you're, right? You're being coaxed, coerced, shoved into, kind of what you value is being handed to you. It isn't an innate valuing. It isn't, oh wow, I really like, right? Okay. And because you got to keep up with the Joneses, so you actually you're valuing that. Oh yeah, I do really, no. Okay, so that's part of it where you're it does equate to money, because when you value something, you give your attention to it. You give your communication, your reciprocity to it, right? And because we're shunted in certain things of valuing, we're so tired. We just want the phrase is, I just want, and it has this feeling to it. So if you can get a bag of chips because that's what we've conditioned, really, just to sit down and relax and just the world shut up. I'm just going to turn on the TV. Well, hallelujah. These people are easy because they just sit right down and they get programmed over and over again. So we
Well,
do. Why do you think Trump said, if you see what's going on and you're not liking what's going on, he was saying communicate how you value what you value by what you're putting your coin down on.
well, maybe I wasn't clear in the way that I said it. I know that that's so. I mean, a lot, and a lot of people put a lot of value in money, but the conversation of what you value versus money, or even in the same conversation, for some reason, it feels a little incongruent for me. And maybe that is part of the reason why I have this thing about money being power over other at
But
its
money
core.
is,
Because value is different than money.
well,
Value
that's what I'm saying. It goes
far
back
and
to
away.
the story of money. So money is just a piece of, right now, it's just a piece of paper. And
Right.
actually it has less weight than this. This is two pieces of paper, but less weight than this. But yet, right? Think of all the things that come out of the proverbial our mouth. So you don't understand. I have a job because I have to support my family. Okay, stop right there. So why? Because I value that, or I value the tradition of being supported in the, being a breadwinner, whatever it is, right? So again, value is tied into all of it. That's a sub level of that would be, which wouldn't be quite as pure and genuine, is the need, or what you're going to get for it, or what an exchange is, right? But money, that's the other thing, is money. Let me rephrase it. So communicating the value of something and what you value, which is a form of technology, right? And a lot of times when I would say technology, people might think of a cell phone, but a wheel is a technology, right? So it could be very ancient technology. And
There's lots of things that I feel are technology that may not be classified as that,
right.
but
So it's technology that is, and what this technology does is it communicates. It communicates from one individual being to another, or to a group, or to a cooperative, like if stores usually used to be, that's how stores got started. They were cooperatives of beings in the marketplace. And it's a conduit for showing what I value. So if someone raises sheep and they have wool, and they figure, well, the wool is nice, and I have some wool where they can just take the skeins and they can make their own things, or I'm going to actually do a value added product, right? Because I'm adding value, because I put my exchange of energy and time and creativity and skill, and I took the wool and I made it into a sweater or a blanket or a this or a that or a that, right?
right.
And so in that particular thing, you can see, well, people are valuing this particular kind of thing, value added product made with sheep's wool, when it looks like a hat and mittens, because there's a lot of young kids. It's a cold village, or neighborhood, or whatever, and so they like that. So that's a way they're valuing it. The words and the meanings are clear and hold true from a heart-based center, and they're showing you that there's more desire for, there's more valuing of, there's more usefulness in this particular area for the hats and stuff. So they're voting with their valuing and exchanging for that. We've gotten out of it because, like I said, it goes back to, we don't value, we have, how many times do you hear people say, well, and it's actually hasn't been that long since they've been discussing it, which is kind of unfortunate, but how we don't value what people do for a living, or it's skewed. Like, so baseball players, basketball players, King, LeBron, all that, they get up here, and someone who's teaching our children or that kind of thing get much less. So we don't value that. So that disparity but yet people have no problem, or they've stopped now, actually, a lot of them going to play to games to support that kind of stuff, because they were voting for that value. They were saying, well, because it's part of the TV, whether they go to a game live or sit down, I just want to shut the world out, get my chips and soda, and turn this on, so that they're not being present in the exchange. Same thing with the comments. Is this, commenting, like I said, on, so that's a form of valuing.
Right. So I think what I'm gathering from what you're saying there, and for what I feel about it too, is that, well, first of all, seeing how I am just now getting to really know myself
and value yourself
and value my own self, because I didn't actually prior. That's why I said there's
the key.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I think there's a skewed view, or and it could be just because I know it was terribly incongruent, because I didn't value myself. I know I'm not the only one. There's gobs of folks wandering around. They'll tell you they value themselves, but are they really? Because there's a skewed, or, well, quite frankly, programmed as well.
Yes, that's it's part of this whole technology. Right. Absolutely.
So being open to seeing that we've got all sorts of that programming to examine within ourselves. And for me personally, getting to, hey, wait a minute, I haven't valued myself whatsoever. And really in that, just trying to get into figuring out how I value me. Well, now I got to figure out what I like and what I don't like, and what I want to participate in and what I don't want to participate in, and whether or not I value that or that or that, because I didn't take the time to, well, even figure out whether or not I had the right to value me. I mean, I know that might sound ridiculous, but honestly,
it's not ridiculous. And so the conversation is, for large measure, in word and placeholder only of money. We can't get into a new financial system, a new way of a currency exchange, until we deal with this. You can't say, oh, well, forget all that. Well, let's just get the new money so I can get on with my life. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get on with your life until you value. It will not, for you individually, with that frequency, because words carry frequency, it will not support you in the new landscape. And the new landscape is here. Have you noticed how fast things are moving? We talked about this. It's going to be May 1st on Saturday, right?
I can't believe it.
May 1st in the year 2021. So if I know it went by and you looked at it and went, holy shit, right? But the new energies and the new systems will you could say they'll pass you by, although that isn't accurate. You're just going to be stuck like stuck in amber until you engage, first of all, with yourself and move forward. So the conversation has the name placeholder of money and the new economy, right? But this is part of it. And this is how you make, you talk about, well, is it going to be cryptocurrencies because they can be used as a tool to exchange, and then you have silver and gold, which is going to be the store of value and all that kind of stuff, and the FRNs are going to be go away and all that kind of stuff. Well, we're the store of value. and we are the currency. We may use different technical whiz bang and gizgos and sort of a things, right? That we're going to use to move it from place to place. But it's us. It's your own biometrics that cannot be fooled around with, that give the zip to the strip on a card if you're going to use it, or if you have the ledger, I think it's called in cryptos, it's like a stick that you're it. You have the best technology that has ever been invented as far as security, well, as far as anything, but as far as security that's ever been invented, will ever be invented, and it's not hackable. Your DNA can be hackable, but this particular signature, your biometric energetic, which is unique to you in all, everything, it's unique to you. It can't be hacked.
Yep.
So if we can't, we're the system, we're the technology, we're the dollars, we're whatever word you're kind of hung up in and trying to navigate this, until one notices and does what you're talking about, where they realize that you are the value, that you're valuable, that you don't have to do nothing. Just you could not stop breathing if you want to, but just sit and you hold our store of value simply because you exist.
And
Now,
I know that everybody goes, oh yeah, okay, sure, right. And that's the programming, okay? Because I know that when you very first started saying that, okay, smarmy was up in my head going, oh yeah, that's right. Oh sure, okay. But I know that you are right now. And I also know that that was smarmy in the programs and all
so
of that.
everything, the video that just popped in too, I was reading something, the different, talk about trafficking and everything else, but just the different commodities. So just the being that is you. So the frequency of, if we kind of made you in columns. So the outside of the being is, part of the outside of the being is flesh, right? So body parts, flesh, that kind of stuff. Then around that, you've got the energy field, the etheric field, right? So you've got your core signature, the unhackable essence of you, right? And then you have all the rest of you if you just stopped at where your skin ends, right? So there's tremendous talk about a store of value, and I'll be explicit for a moment. So all of the components of you, body parts, fluids, DNA, everything, talk about a store of value. You are one hell of a commodity, and the money that they are making and have been making on you, even the living one that's still alive and not too awfully damaged in the chair, they're still making a lot of money, and it's huge amount of commerce that's mostly off-world, actually, going. So this is real. This has been going on for eons. And if we want to have this conversation of how do we move forward, like I said, we can do something in a sense, whether it's even in your own mind. You just catch it for a minute. Okay, new. Okay, I'm going to maybe learn about that other stuff later, but I'm going to set all that aside. Or we can go, this is what I was talking about, this conversation here, where you go back to the original, have a noticing and knowing, understanding of what's really going on, and then we go forward. Either way, you cannot be into the new economy, because if it doesn't have this component, it's just the same party dress and girl. Absolutely. I don't care what words they use or put on it. They're lying to you, and it's bullshit. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who's mentioning it is lying. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying, because they're sold a certain thing and it looks good. But if it does not have this component, which has to do with value and valuing, which is an intrinsic heart-based frequency of how you move and do and experience and connect and be subject to one another, it's not going to be any part of anything that's going to exist, that's going to stay, and that's sustainable and will flourish. And we are going to flourish. We are just stepping into the flourishing. The best is yet to come. Well, the best is here. It's coming here. Every scrappling inch that we're taking, and this is part of it.
Well, Karen Fine offers that the system is the quantum, I think you mean finial or final system. You are the quantum consciousness holding that system. And I couldn't agree more, actually. It is as creators, as creator beings, and I've made it no secret. We're all still playing with money, the collective at the moment. And I get it. Most of us, we got no clue what else can we do. There's, I'm in that category. And the only thing that I can figure out for myself is I don't, because of the way I feel about it, the whole power over other thing, I don't wish to withhold that which brings me joy, which I've said many times, my tarot readings, my little crochet buddies that I've been making, my art. Because look, I create, whether it goes out the door or it gets to a kid that shows up, it don't matter. I'm creating all over the place.
Yes, and more
as I enjoy it.
But yes, and more than what a number of people can see is that when that which is the life force, the energy, frequency, signature, and vibration, which is palpable, and it is connected to the river of love. When that life force, which happens to be in the Sheila body right this moment, right? When that life force goes to be doing that in that moment, which happens to be those things at that moment, right? Just as one of many examples. But when the zing, right? The reverberation and the can't think of the right word I'm looking for. I mean, just the reciprocal tuning and undulating and vibrancy and experiential expansion that occurs just with you. Hold that basket up again.
Mhm.
So just turn it. So from the colors to everything else, that is a creational force. Someone said, "What? Those silly things?" It's not the thing. You see, this is what I'm talking about. It is the act, the creational force act of doing this. It's the same as creating worlds or a business or a building or a garden or, helping a baby being born or whatever it is. It's the vibration that occurs when you are being present and fully immersed in that vibration, that singing, that reverberation that occurs. It is a cohesive structure, and that is what the new economy is about. That is what money, as an old name, right? Labels, just a label, stick it on there, what money is. And that's how we will go and create all of these new things right in an instant. So just to go back for a moment to what Karen had said, it may be, and I have heard that is just a tiny part of what they tag on to that. But in most of what's heard is, well, there's going to be all this money that comes down for good works, for things that people want to do, right? But not everybody's going to get it. It's just for good works. Well, who gets to decide who the damn good work is for? And is your good work better than my good work?
That's been part
Right.
of my
So
problem.
again, it's you got a little bit of, okay. So I'd say about 0.25%. I like it. That's why I've actually published a couple things about it, because they had that 0.25% piece in there. And I said, okay, let's see if there's discernment here. And people can hear this whole thing in that poor little piece and go, oh, hey, wait, right there. That fragment right there is that piece that I'm talking about. Because anytime there's limit, you are the value. The money isn't because it came out of the vaults in the Vatican and all these kinds of things. Yes, in actuality, there are things that came out. Where do you suppose it got generated from in the first place? Right? Okay. And so it belongs to each one of us. So in other words, if there isn't like, okay, we're going to dole out and someone gets this 100 million and this one gets this and this one gets this. Newsflash, you are the value. You are a self-perpetuating, self-replicating, self-expansive genesis of the value. You're just every moment here, now, and forward is this and this and this. And I got news for you. All the stuff that was misappropriated and is held because of I can't think of the word right now, vitiated by fraud, right? The stockpiles and your bank accounts. Why do you suppose that when Heather often says this is the highest paying job she's ever had? Because just on her alone, all of that, because you are the value. So I don't know, maybe people can't quite get their head around it, but you can get your head around, do you value yourself or not? You can get your head around, and your heart would be the place to be getting around. What do you value? What do you choose to spend your energy, your smile, your time, although time is a construct we can let go of as well as the money, around, and how we want to do that? What do you choose to engage your life force energy? That might be the simplest linear way I can describe it. In how you spend every moment from the time the sun comes up on your part of the world and goes down at the end. And there's other time, at the night time too. So what are you choosing? What do you value? And you choose every moment. And when you choose every moment and you value every moment, you actually value you and all life, all consciousness. And that is the building blocks. That is the reality, bricks and mortar, so to say, of the new economy. And it will change everything. And as Sheila, you say it a lot that, you want to play the games you want to play. And that there are people out there who want to play those games. Or at the very least, when they get together, someone says, well, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to play this game. And you kind of go, oh, well, cool. Look at that. When we're here, this game and this game, which you both want to play, which are kind of similar, looks like this game. And we're playing this game right now, right? So that's how the new economy works. That's how you're showing your value. It doesn't mean that you castigate something, someone, some whatever, because you don't want that. You just, that's
Don't
nice.
engage. No,
Just
that's right.
pass it right on by and go to something else. And there is no need, because you're the one who's either already mastered, is mastering, or is still kind of in the waking up apprentice of mastering your own vibration, which brings you all of these things. So think of all the technologies that are out there, right? They got out there. Well, I'll use a simple reason of how they got out there. They got out there because, someone invented it and put it out there. And part of the blueprint, part of the drawing board in the ethers, in the no formness, the pre-matter template, came from the creativity of that which is the value, which is you. And it came out there. And the reason that it came to being that way, because it's a technology, it's a tool, it's a gift, a special part. You can use whatever you want to label it, labeling all over the place, whatever turns you on. but it came from you. You already are familiar with it. Phone, telepathic, right? Clairaudience, clairvoyance, all you are the greatest technology that ever has, ever will be, and ever has not even been thought of yet, because you haven't thought of it yet, in existence. So all of these things that would be commodities, that would be services, that would be experiences like, vacation or adventure or whatever, all those things are generated from each one. We have, I don't even think that forgotten is the best way to describe, but I'll use that. We've forgotten how to create. We've forgotten how to play. We've forgotten how to have this light bulb moment and then be moved to go do it. Well, hell, we're being moved and nudged all over the place, and 99 and 9/10 people, they don't even pay any attention to it. Or if they do, they go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then do nothing. And then, and this is very common in our society, again, because it's part of the whole setup, what we talked about, the original, from eons back, is they go, that person stole my idea. No, because in life force, in creational force, in pre-matter template, which you are part of, even, in the chair, right? You draw that forward and you go, yeah, and you noodle it around, you play with it, or maybe you play with someone else, and that game, right? It creates this, or just you yourself, and you play with the different things, resources, and connections, and who's a good supplier for this, or who could help me make that part of the widget, or whatever else it is, right? And you act on it because you're the value. You bring it to fruition. Take the TDEAs, right? They exist. Shh. They exist. Shush. You need to stop. They exist because you are the value that put that in there. So it could be traded as a commodity that could then make them more money. Stop it. Right? So all of these, you have real world examples all over the place. To say that that's crazy talk, that I'm the value, is just as smack on crazy talk as saying that things are woo woo. And you look at why do certain events happen on certain dates with certain synchronicities, with certain symbolism, because it's all so the fastest way to move into the new economy, to call it whatever you want, to move into a place where you can be what you want to be, do what you want to do, when you want to do it, the way you want to do it, experience and create the things you want to create, and have a fantabulous time doing it. And the best is yet to come is such a pale, insignificant whiff of a phrase to even begin to come close to even nibbling around the edges of describing that is entirely up to you. And the way, the portal to get there is to start to understand that it's within you. And every moment that you say, that's nuts, we got to have this, or someone's got to give me this strip, I got to do this, someone's going to tell me when I can breathe, someone's going to tell me when I can do this, someone's going to tell me what the new economy is, and I'll just show up, someone's going to tell me, oh, hey, maybe that woo-woo stuff wasn't so woo-woo. Then you'll start to see that. Only then, when you choose to value you and create what you can create.
Well, like I said, if you'd have come to me 5 years ago and said, well, Sheila, you don't value yourself very much, I would have said, get out of here with that. Of course I do. It's a for me anyway, it's very clear to me anyway, for me, that not, I didn't grok it. Let's just put it that way. I knew that, money was not, and I'm talking about, I'd already woken up to the geopolitical corruption on the planet. I understood that, the Federal Reserve notes were actually debt notes and not at all anything what they purported to be at this point. And but I still didn't have that piece, that that woo woo piece that everybody wants to, the metaphysical
It's
portion.
flesh and blood. It doesn't get any more tangible than you right here.
Right.
Because
So
just the skin is a huge commodity, and it's worth incredible. Every organ, the DNA, just a tiny, 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 tiny gram of my DNA is beyond gold on the off-world trade market. Make no mistake about it. And there's nothing woo about it. Blood, your blood, prick your finger. There's nothing that gets more tangible than that.
Yeah. Karen Fine was saying she totally gets it now. She said, so in the next phase, people will be learning their value. And I do think that that conversation, for me anyway, that's where it had to start. What really is valuable, to me? Am I valuable enough to me? I mean, what is that? And I gotta say, for me, I also feel like especially now, actually, because of where all the planets are aligned. And yes, I know that's astrology and
That's woo too.
more woo woo, more woo woo. But there's no getting around the fact that where the planets are right now,
Copernicus would take umbrage at that.
all of the astrologers, bar none, that I've paid attention to, have been talking about this full moon that just took place yesterday, and the alignments that are surrounding this full moon right now, because they all have to do with relationships. They all have to do with finances. They have to do with structure. They have to do with secrets. So
Isn't that everything you just talked about in the last few minutes?
there's a lot of energy available right now for us to, I think it's easier to do that, looking inside, asking self some questions. What is valuable to me? And because really, I mean, I've had this conversation in different sorts of ways. When I first started really grokking this subject, it was surrounding the issue of water and that beautiful, wonderful machine that I bought that actually saved my life. And the fact that it's pretty spendy. And in speaking to some, I said, well, it's all in what you value. And I get it. Listen, when I first heard how much that machine was, I was still smoking cigarettes, on oxygen, and all of these kinds of things. And I didn't think I could pay $3.80 a gallon for water until by day 2, I was not in as much pain. And all of a sudden, my what I could do and couldn't do sort of changed. And so when I have said this many times, people afford and do what they desire to afford when it comes to money, or do when it comes to doing a thing. If it's interesting to you, if you really want to find out about something, there's ways. And if you really want it, you'll figure it out, right? I mean, most people generally do. So
but that's because they start to value themselves, because
or the thing that they're researching or whatever else. You're right.
But the connection between what they're researching has hit and pinged a value point within them, so that they're actually getting in touch with, they may not call it that, they may not use that language, and
Right.
they may fight you tooth and nail, but at
Right.
least in that one little vein, they're valuing something within them finally. And what we're talking about here is the beginning. I remember I keep talking about, above the fold and below the fold. So now what we're at is the top of the below the fold. So this is the headline, the front of the newspaper, the banner, right? We haven't gotten there yet. We're getting at the top, and it will bleed a bit into over here. And if you think your head is spinning and you're going, whoa, this is crazy talk, here. That's why I say this part here will drop you to your knees. And if you want to really get to the best is yet to come, it's up there. It's all up here. Because you're unstoppable here. You are unimaginable compared to what you are right now in the chair here. And you are limitless here. And this is one of the ways, because money, is something everybody can get behind, because everyone, bar none, absolutely none, even the elites, have been in the financial slavery system. They've been traded, they're commodities. They've been the underpinnings, the foundation of, the store of value for all of it.
Yeah, I've often wondered about how far up, because what you just said about, even the elite, because there's I think there's a lot more of the elite there, like you said, in that category of and not knowing
the
it.
highest elite on this planet are upper middle management at best in the matrix that's the control system, which is mostly off-world.
Right. So, okay, so
pick any of your favorite, the seven families and the this and that. Pick any of the, the top dog, Queenie Pooh, however you want to go, right? And upper middle management at best, and the schlubs in the Congress, either house, yeah.
yeah, they're more like supervisors. I get that. Well, so since we've sort of established that first order of business would be everyone taking some time to figure out what it is that, do you value yourself, and to what capacity might one actually value oneself? Because I don't know, when you start wondering if you're valuing yourself, for me, the question is, okay, so I value myself. Am I going to keep doing this that I hate over here every day because I gotta pay the bills? Or
every time you wear a mask, you don't value yourself.
Well, any of those things, right?
Every time you give your constitutional rights, which are your God-given rights, away to somebody, you don't value yourself.
Well, that's my thoughts and feelings about it as well. However, I know that there are those who feel differently. And so I want to be very, very clear with myself. I don't want to sit in judgment of those folks.
No, I don't either, but it's a good way to tell. You can tell. And
true.
And it's one of those things that you can, if someone wanted to come and we chatted for a long time, and they could say, well, this is what's happening. This is why I do this. I understand. I absolutely get it. I understand. I don't choose to do it. And I've paid, if we're talking that way, I've exchanged an awful lot of my value and an awful lot of currency near and dear from blood, sweat, tears, and all of those, and money in exchange for not doing that. So it's because it's freedom. It's something that I hold, and freedom isn't free. And everybody will play with it in their own way. So it isn't a matter of judgment, but it's important to realize if you're right here, wherever that is for each being, and you want to go, you want to travel, you want to expand too, you want to see it and taste it and feel it, the best is yet to come. This is how you get there. Because the rest of the world can completely disappear. They're gone. It's just you. And there could be huge pots of gold or whatever your euphemism is for money, or that which will help you gain, exchange for. The best is yet to come. It will be completely out of your reach. It will be completely out of your vibrational neighborhood field. You will not be able to access it until you until you value you to come up to your wider consciousness, heart expansion, and are a match to you, which has brought that to, which is already here, but you can bring yourself to it. So it's not that anybody is judging, certainly not me, judging anybody, right? Because do I have all this down right? No, absolutely not. No, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair in this location if I did, right? But I know it. I understand it. I wrestle with it. I play with it, right? I work at it. I do all those iteration and words and combinations of things. I pull my hair out at it sometimes too.
Well, I guess I'm becoming.
But I know that's how we get there.
I want to be very clear with you, BZ. I guess I'm watching myself. I'm watching myself very, very closely. And I have, because I have been quick to jump to judgment of people, right? Okay, because, and I admit this freely and openly, you know. And I guess part of it has to do with what feels like common sense and right for me and all of that. And again, anytime I know this, you know, intellectually, perhaps that's even it. Maybe it's still an intellectual exercise, and I'm really watching myself, because I really don't want to. I don't want to jump into judgment, because that might be how they want to experience it. Now they might say no, but clearly, if they aren't, in my opinion, themselves enough to breathe freely, just because Bobo the clown up there in Washington says one thing 1 minute and another thing 5 minutes later, you know, and because of the fear that's been generated, again, you know, that could be the experience that part of me wanted to have. I'm just being very careful and watching myself very closely, because I slip over into or back into this thing within myself that, well, is right for me. By golly, it ought to be right for everybody else, because I've had that attitude a lot.
Well, that's one thing, but it's also important to lay out something as simple as a conversation where people can be aware of this is actually so. And then, since they're the expert for them, only they can decide if there's resonance for the frequency and the vibrational frequency and the aperture of consciousness that they hold in this very moment predominantly. It may absolutely resonate. It may be total horseshit. And it doesn't make it any less so. Just in that moment, for that being, it's not a match. It doesn't fit. And it may be lots of different experiences, lots of different roads. It may be an hour, it may be a month, it may be a couple million years, right? In manyest different levels, in another three-dimensional, polarized, dualistic experience. to come around to that. And each one of those is, for each being, is exactly how they're if they're knowingly and consciously choosing that, right? It may not be, as you say, Sheila, conscious right up here, but there's an agreement within yourself and your soul that that's happening. That's great. But if one isn't looking at the different vibrational landscapes and see, oh, you're driving in a car and you're looking out the window, and kind of, sometimes you're going slow, maybe 25, 30 miles an hour, and sometimes you're kind of rushing by. So the frequencies are, a little different levels. And you go, wow, what's that animal? And you see, maybe it's a pronghorn, which is this really cool gazelle type animal that can go boing, boing, and go really fast. And so that you never didn't know something existed. So that's nuts. That's crazy talk. There's no an animal that go like this and go forward at the same time, upwards of what, I don't know, 40 some odd miles an hour. You're nuts. That's a joke. Except the pronghorn says, hey, this is my gig and this is what I do and I'm really good at it, right? So, but there's an experience and you can go, no, that's nuts. And you keep going. Or you go, that's cool. I wonder what that was. Or you go, wow, cool, pronghorn, right? Whatever it is, because for you in that moment, right, it's the exact same thing, whether it's a pronghorn or money, it's the exact same thing, right? And so then you decide, was that a door that opened? Was that a door that you noticed? Forget the whole world. That you noticed and you've interacted with this now, bringing you to a new landscape? Or was that just a envelope or a bulge in one energetic consciousness landscape that kind of pressed up against my, the person in the car, mine, and I experienced it for a moment and then we kept going. And that's how you do it. So for me, the feeling to want to bring like this conversation, and this is a ginormous conversation, and I'm not doing a very good job of just barely scratching the surface of it, but I'm nudged that at least that I'm part on the road, part of the landscape, that the pronghorn that comes by just for a nanosecond and you can look at it and have whatever conversation within you, whether it's just a nanosecond right now or it goes on for a while, and that you can do it. And so one of the things that you can kind of test for yourself, some of the things we've talked about, well, how do I interact when it's, like I said, really just rudimentary kind of stuff, like the comments on something, or where it's a value. So someone is doing something, whatever that is, you're coming into the landscape of that, it's there. You've stayed more than a few nanoseconds. So clearly there was some kind of value in it for you, whatever that was. It's going to be different for everybody. And you have availed yourself of the value offered from the other being. And have you exchanged value for that? Right? So there are many different ways but a quantifiable, linear, basic thing that everybody can understand what a comment is, right? That's a question. And if you do that all the time, frequently, great. Then that's led. You've met some interesting people, or it started a whole turn of events, or these wonderful synchronicities evolved from that, or you really, if ever, do it. So again, it's there's no judgment, certainly not for me in there. It's just a noticing. How are you engaging? How do you value you, and how you spent, forget the other person, okay? Doesn't matter, whatever they spent, who cares? You just spent 3 minutes of your life force energy engaged with this. You put your value in that. So where are you showing yourself that value in? Does that make sense? I think maybe part of it is, do we actually even pay attention in the moments, even if it's not moment by moment, in how, you know, the clock ticks by, the sun rises and sets in our life experience each day.
Well,
Yeah.
quite frankly, until recently, I never did. I'm sorry, Lisa. Please go ahead.
Well, for me, my currency is my focus and attention.
That's what I meant.
And where it goes, I feed that. Whatever I lavish or invest my focus and attention on. And so I started to be very careful about what I was doing with my currency, my focus, my attention, and aligning to, well, for instance, I was thinking that I had to have a specific, well, I want to call it a tit for tat. There's a thing that I do and I get something in return. But actually, it isn't like that at all. That's what money is like. But my currency runs in a very different and more natural way. And when I start to monitor and focus how I spend my currency, I can clearly see what I'm feeding. And I was noticing that I was feeding or supporting nothing that I enjoyed or wanted to feed and support. And that was creating an internal conflict within me. So, of course, my life was nothing but conflict everywhere I looked. But now that I am looking at, so that's right, what you value is the core of it, right? What do I value? What do I wish to invest my currency into and grow? I see it as feeding it, nurturing it, providing the proper environment for my dream to sprout and take root. And so that's all done by me. And so I have to figure out what I value and be very careful about what I pay my attention to. So for a while, I was paying attention to my dream, but my focus, my energy currency was feeding the lack of it in my life. And so, of course, I was getting lack of X, Y, or Z, whatever it was I was hoping to experience, I wasn't experiencing. And when I recognized that only through paying attention to what I was paying attention to and seeing what I was feeding and propping up, was I then able to withdraw my energy, my support from the things that weren't feeding me in that reciprocal manner that EZ was talking about. And when I unplug from that, then I can look for, what do I want to plug into? What do I value? What brings value to my life and to others? Because that's important to me. Because I know for me to be happy, then I have to give happiness, meaning I can't hoard it for just myself. It has to be for all. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm constantly reevaluating what I value and really honestly asking myself, what am I investing in right now, in this moment? Is it in alignment with what I'm wishing to experience? And the rest really takes care of itself for me, I'm finding. I really don't need anybody else to participate, like that tit for tat thing I was talking about earlier takes care of itself naturally. And it's just more a matter of me making sure that I'm investing my frequency, my currency in the things that bring me joy, instead of allowing the outside to decide where my frequency or my focus and attention should be aimed at any moment in time. And that's challenging because we have lots of moments. And if I'm not in control in this moment, then someone else is, and they're controlling my next experience.
Right.
So I'm really investing in me right now because I value myself and I want to have the experiences that bring me joy now. I'm choosing to value myself enough to invest in me and my dreams and to support them and others who share, similar dreams or completely opposite dreams. It doesn't matter to me, just that they're allowed their dream fulfillment. Because to me, that's the real value of, my creator beingness is being creative and unlimited. And so to have that unlimited value, I must give it to you, which is, kind of fun, really.
No, you're exactly correct.
You said some very cool things that actually point out if you wrote them in a list, I kind of did, they point to different parts of this conversation that give examples of. So you started the beginning that you not like the money thing was the part I pulled out of that. So the money thing was designed in a way, it's not the part that you're talking about, the not like the money thing, is where it's because it's on our currency, it's on our value. But it had to be that that's one-sided party line call so that there was control in it. So the currency was everything that floated the whole, your business gets money to float, right? So it can pay payroll and all that kind of stuff. Most people are familiar with that, even they haven't had a business. Okay. So we were what floated this business. This whole business was the whole Babylonian money thing. And then there was the twist put in it, which you could have a shorthand for, not like the money thing, right? Right? Which was the control, which was the set it and forget it, where people will put each other, you got to have the Joneses over there, got to do this, got to, right, the shiny object, all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say when Lisa was talking there about the focus and attention and being very mindful of where she pays her focus and attention. Make no mistake, the bombardment, that is part of the
Absolutely
whole thing. The bombardment of advertising, of
multitasking, all those kinds of
all of those things.
Right. And they're all, and think about, just take the multitasking for a moment. They are very, very closely, with just a shaving off, modeled on our own innate abilities. If we're multidimensional, talk about multitasking, baby. You can be in embodiment and non-embodiment at the exact same time on different dimensions and different realms, doing different things. You are the premium cosmically organic source multitasker. You just don't have that twist in it, right? So another thing you said, you talked about the real currency, which makes you happy, right? And then you said, and I want, others to be creating too. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It makes it happy. And I am investing in just appreciating, hey, look at that person is loving what they do. I can't see it, but I love watching them love what they do, right? And so I wanted to bring that into the currency, that it's palpable, that just like a current, think of electrical current, it's got waves to it, right? So in what Lisa was just talking about there, it's energy, it's a frequency. And if you said I don't want to hold it and hoard, my happiness, I want to share it, right? Because if you do the hoarding and you do the holding of it, its currency, the energy frequency, will dissipate if it isn't let free current to run, right? To, like, horses or whatever that brings that, conjures that image, right? And so it'll dissipate. It actually will dissipate out of that form. It doesn't disappear, but it just reforms in another place where the currency is flowing, and there is someone happy, that person is so damn happy at what they're doing that it's just giving you a blast watching it, even though there's no way you would want to do that ever, but you love watching them be, right? So that's another one. You had course, my handwriting is terrible. When you're talking about, oh, you talked about investing in, I want to pay attention to what I'm paying my focus in, my energy in, right? And I'm investing in me. I'm investing in my dreams. Okay. And so I wrote, I couldn't think of the word, but block grants is one of them, or the new opportunity zones. Okay. So in what Lisa's talking about, not only is she her own opportunity zone in that setup from the, because the frequency and the currency is palpable. It's actually tangible. Yes, you can see it in different microscopes and different tools, but it is the force that creates gravity. It's the force that creates air movement. It's all that. It's actually tangible and real, even though it doesn't, isn't as tangible looking as this thing right here, right? But so that's another form of opportunity zones or block grants or something like that, because just Lisa doing that, where she's investing in that, in her own dreams. Everybody else is gone for a moment. Just in her dreams, the creational force that comes off of that is focused on that, not only generates more things, but, for example, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but you're a wood carver, and this is your dream, and you look at this block of wood and you're carving, and you are just in it, focused attention, and this amazing sculpture is coming out of this gorgeous piece of mahogany. And on the ground is now a pile of shavings. And so that's something for someone who has, maybe they have horses and they want that for their stall, or maybe they raise chicks or whatever it is, right? So though that's an offshoot of a cast off of your energy flow frequency, right? Your currency, and that can be raw material, that can be something for someone else. So just the very act of Lisa focusing and paying attention on her, investing in her dream and what that is, it's not a selfish act. It is a life force creational act. And when she does it, it enriches everything else. The money, that not like the money thing, does the exact opposite.
No, that's
And
true.
so it's the constriction of that. And one last thing I want to go into, it's interesting. It came to me that it was out there. I hadn't seen it yet, but I went to go find it because I got nudged to go to, for those people who are saying, oh, this is woo, or yeah, right, you're nuts, or I'm going to stick with that, new quantum financial thing, because maybe they'll give me money or whatever else it is. And be careful, because giving you money too is in some hands, and not saying the people who are selling are that, but what's behind it is the basic minimum income, BMI, right? It's the same kind of a thing, because it can be turned off. Anyways, that's a whole side thing. So for those who are thinking, yeah, but, or yeah, right, nice, okay, buy a clue, lady, or get to reality, whatever. Well, actually, I'm talking about as visceral, tangible reality as you can get. And one of the videos that I'm talking about, that it's queued up. I don't think I published it yet on the IAV, but you can see that this is all science-based. So the frequency that we're talking about, the currency that we're talking about, the focus and attention that Sheila and Lisa are talking about, where they're investing their energy, they're paying their focus and attention to, that is a vibrational frequency. So the words that they use, the words that they conjure as far as like in their own head, or talking or experiencing with it, all of the emotions hold vibrational frequencies, and each vibrational frequency has a calibration and a modulation to the actual sine wave that goes with it. And that can be then has a I'm not going to think of the right word right this minute, but it has a frequency mathematical structure, which is a molecular structure to, well, no, but I mean, what it does is it can broken down to in what it creates in your body, what it creates in energy, runoff from your body. It's molecular structure. It actually, like, things in a petri dish or or makeup of blood in your, the molecules in your blood, or any of those kinds of things. And by paying into that currency, that frequency, which creates this molecular structure, which creates this substance within your body. And as you pay into that, you actually are swimming in your whole, on a tangible blood, bone, sweat, tears, emotion level, and on an etheric, and on an electromagnetic, and on a mental, the whole body's right. You are tangibly, provably, scientifically, if you have a high enough powered microscope to do it, you can see that stuff which this potentially purportedly woo-woo junk is creating, and you're swimming in it. And as you pay into that, and you pay into that, and you pay into that, and you invest in it, not only are there dividends that are real, tangible dividends that bring stuff to you, the damn truck shows up and says, "Hey, lady, we got this thing you just ordered, man. Here, what do you want it?" Right? But because you're swimming in it, and you are a cohesive structure within your life force system, you're perpetuating that. So talk about feeding. You're feeding that to yourself. You are now on this amazing high consciousness, high open heart based nutritional regime that is creating and enriching your currency, your vibration. It's the stuff of creation brought into a physical body in a linear human mind, tangible, touchable reality. Sorry, I get excited about this thing.
You don't say. I was wondering, BZ, if we ever could get a rise out of you. I thought it was very beautifully put, actually, and it really it has taken me all these years of hanging out with the two of you, where I can finally actually say, not only do I grok what you've been sharing with me all this time, I now can feel my own energetic. Actually, Lisa and I had a conversation about this a little while ago, that exchange, that completion of a circuit. Yes.
Because electrical current does that.
Yes. And I, through my experience here in this house, our little tiny experiment of living in a consciously co-creative community has been the best experience of my entire life, because I can now say that I grok that. It is more than simply an intellectual exercise, and I have felt that completion of that circuit, and it can also be a little daunting to try to explain it to folks, because I now also grok that the subtle factor that the two of you have tried your best to get into the non-subtle beings.
Well, the other thing is that we don't have language.
Could you
developed
repeat
yet.
that?
What?
Repeat that?
Yeah, we don't have language yet to talk about it, it feels like. Because when I go to describe it and I hear myself trying to describe a concept that I feel like I know but can't, as the words are leaving my mouth, I think, well, that's not quite right. That's very limiting. No, it's more like, the minute you try to
Quantify it?
I've limited it so badly that it's like, okay, no, well, that's not it exactly. So I see the power of metaphor for describing some of this stuff, but even that fails me at times. It's very difficult to I don't know, bring it into a language when we just don't. And I'm realizing how dumbed down the English language really is. Like, I just didn't realize
Yes.
how I started to read or attempt to read books that were written, like in the 1900s or prior. I don't know what language that is. Like, literally every third word, this girl has to look it up. So I feel like we've lost access to a lot of
We didn't
perhaps.
lose access to it. It got taken away. It got subverted in other things because that's part of the spell. I would love to find out. Maybe there's already a lot of comments, but I would love to see if people would like to share their value and give me, all of us, but I'm particularly interested, a sense of um, you know, like, have they even thought about, just an example, the comment thing, or have they thought about, like, when they're working with somebody on the phone, just as just an example, customer service, and saying, hey, can I paying it forward, sort of thing. Have they thought about, well, yeah, I mean, this new thing is different, so it's got to be good, it's going to be right, instead of using their own, right here, this tool you have right here is the most amazing tool in all of existence. I'm talking right here in your heart. Forget this. You think your brain is smart. You think your brain has a high IQ and everything else. It's got nothing on what's here, because this uses all the telemetry and it's yours. It's not like I'm saying, hey, I'm better than you. I'm absolutely not. I'm exactly the same and we're magnificent. So, get with it. Right. So you've got the tool. So I'm curious, are people looking at this and saying, yeah, I do this, or I experienced this, or I was wondering about this, or, just to share in that, to see it, because if people actually are willing to play and exchange value in this, then in the thing that came in today, the nudge to, or whenever it was I sent this to you, nudge to do this, there were a whole lot of other ones that get down to specific things, whether it's around, because that was my focus, is generating revenue streams, or starting a business, or getting out of the traditional job sort of a thing, and building actually tangibly, not just waiting for the memo that someone says, hey, they're going to free me with this new financial system thing, sort of thing, but to go and build it and create it, because that's the only way it's going to happen. That's the only way it's going to be here, be live, be real, and be the best that's yet to come, and even then some, is if we create it. So, in other words, there's a lot of things that in there that I thought about, that I would love to have conversations about, that I actually am in the process of working on creating programs for, so that people can workshop it and learn how to actually do it. But in this particular venue, the question is, where is everybody? Where is there any resonance, and is there any feeling and playing with it themselves that's already been going on, or just in the moment that they met this energetic envelope, that
Well,
playing is
Q
taking place.
team, Tim is in the house. Tim Pasternacki has joined us, and he was saying that I know the value of us is unlimited. The dollar is covered in bad energy. How do we clean the value system and keep it pure? Thumbprint or card issued to all Americans. He says, I play with this all the time. He continued on to say, many doors opened for me in the last 4 years. It was unknown and scary. I've loved the experience. Something I experienced something I always wanted. I'm glad I've had the opportunity to share this part of my life with everyone that I've had an interaction with. And he's thanking us ladies here that he says we helped him understand a new way of being and doing. And I'm curious because you also said, Tim, we undervalue our time. But in one of the other places, you said that you play with this all the time. And I think that's kind of what BZ was after as to how. And then High Vibe Tribe said that, yes, there is resonance. I feel I'm living this way more and more already. Not worried about money per se. what I need comes to me. No need to hoard for the future. I'm just focusing on offering more of my contributions as I expand. Well, I'm in that category as well. High Vibe Tribe. Which is why I've always said, any of the things that I talk about that I do here are all freely available to all. Yes, I accept love offerings, but they are not required because and I have to say, I had to take a look for myself because I had a lot of comments at one point that maybe I was, undervaluing myself by not putting a dollar mark on, a dollar amount on what I'm offering, and or that maybe I had some self-worth issues that I might want to look into for myself. And so I wanted to, because that was important to me. I want to look at, because hey, I do have self-worth issues. I think we all do if we're honest with ourselves. But the more I do value myself, and the more I continue on in the way that I'm going, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And since I am my own personal dreams and desires to experience involve joy and connection, and quite frankly, something new and different. I have felt quite cared for and loved by doing just that, by stepping out and continuing to offer whatever I think I'm doing over here in exchange, if nothing else, just the postage to get it to you, so that I'm not paying through my nose to get it to you. And I have found that same thing, High Vibe Tribe. I have been provided for. Now I'm paying my focus and attention to use Lisa's words there, to, speak out to the universe what my desires are. And I'm moving towards that which brings me joy in every moment. And I give freely, and I'm receiving freely as well. So, but I too would like to, I'm with BZ. So how do we move forward in these things? But we do got some comments coming in here. So let me see.
While you're looking this up, I just want to say real quick, because you've mentioned it and High Vibe Tribe mentioned it too. It may not be that you guys are kind of skirting the edges of this, but I know from lots of people that I talk to and experience with, that because it's a new kind of map, so we go from seeing what the money system is, that money thing is, right? And then we want to change it or pull out of it or extricate ourselves from it because we're not in the debt or all that kind of stuff. We've changed that. And then we go to because I've seen this in regression in my life too. I go through I have everything I need, right? It's a need based, which I never liked it when I would use that term, still don't, but a need thing. And so the universe provides. And what I see, because I haven't gotten it down yet, but I have in many areas have created it where I go beyond that now. And now I step into I'm moving. So I'm not pulling out of, if this is a system that I was immersed in, didn't know it at first, I was immersed in it, then waking up to it, then realizing that I was complicit in it. Now I'm pulling out of it, kind of in this in between. Well, the best is yet to come. I've been thinking about that for years, right? Okay, I can't wait to get there. Well, we know on the rock thing how that happens, or in that eddy, if I can't wait to. Or, well, they'll invent it and then they'll let me know and I'll jump into that new thing, right? And so what I'm saying is there's an awful lot of, conscious or not, where beings are in that kind of in between stage instead of actively putting forth, creating forth, actively putting in the pre-matter template and pulling out of into the materialized form, the moving forward. In other words, fully engaged, full throttle in creating that, right? Which is in my heart, a step way beyond, all my needs are provided for, is I create everything and I exchange with all. And so it's a growing, flowing thing. So in other words, there's a plant, it gets watered, it gets a little food, and it's alive, and it's green, and it flowers a little bit, and it looks good. Because compared to over here, it's stunning. But now you got all its progeny is this whole field, and the original is right in the middle, and it's blooming. And now you have the best is yet to come, and then some. Does that make sense? So that's where I'm going. Part way there in some areas, nowhere near there yet, and fully there, various avenues, right? And
Right.
and that's part of what I'm building and painting and creating. And I'd like to know if people would like to, if there's an interest for people who want to go there, figure out how to do that, which is in a way that's with specificity to themselves, unique, and do that.
Well, let's see. So we've had a lot here. I love you guys. And I'm so glad that you don't mind sharing. So Fawn said, what stops me from starting a business with my passion is the state and government will have their hands in the money jar. True. Which is another reason why I prefer to operate on the love offering basis at the moment. It just works so much better for me. It's not a business. And then the other thing is too, I've heard Lisa say this, and the truth of it is sometimes when you enjoy doing a thing, if you put a dollar amount on it, now it's become something that's got to be protected. And because it's the way we make our living, and eventually, not in all cases, but in some cases, people end up hating what they originally really loved, because so there's a part of that too, I guess.
That's part of that in between that I'm talking about, because when we get to the other, it will, because that is pulling out of, moving away from that money thing, right? And not in the, I'm a creator being and I create whatever I want. And if today it's, planting rose bushes for the whole valley, cool. And tomorrow or next week, I want to, go be an RV tech. Hey, that's my choice.
High Vibe Tribe
So
said that,
nothing's wasted.
thank you for your compliment, High Vibe. She said, yes, Sheila, you're a great role model for the new way of currency exchange, as are Lisa and BZ too. Fawn said, I've been focusing in my now space and spending more time outside with nature and working with my dream journey in my heart space. Karen said, I had started creating 5 years ago, created a new technology, started my own business, was due to expand last year, and it came to a grinding halt. Had to go to work in a job and left that job last week. Immediately had 3 clients, and the energy has shifted for doing that. So I'm sitting for a moment painting. That's awesome, Karen. See, I don't know. There's something to that for me too. It's that feels like approving to you for me in some kind of way. High Vibe offered that she ended up having to take a low paying job because the business owners are people I know and they need help badly. I'm not anxious about it. It's a way of being in service at the moment. And Q Team offered, I'm having a lot of thoughts right now. So awesome.
Cool.
Just
that's great. And back to the comment before that. So again, that's a exchange of value and currency. So it isn't, thank God, it's not all going to come in FRNs, right? It's going to come in so multiple streams. That's what I was talking about. And when I was talking about my creating multiple streams blueprint. So it comes in different ways. And some of those streams, we know, will be could be silver. Some of those streams could be crypto. Some of those streams could be greenback. Some of those streams could be that being of service purely of, just a frequency exchange. So there's a lot of different streams, and you know how I end up packaging them will be as yet as I'm creating it, right? But
Right.
but again, it will remove the thing of low paying or high paying, right? Because that's an external marker, that's someone else's marker, that has nothing to do with each being, right? It's just like oftentimes people, they think, well, how can we do a barter system? Because, if someone wants this, and then, well, they may want two of those things to get the one of that, and then you have the whole thing. Well, again, if there's an exchange going on of value and something that comes up, it is in the moment frequency, right? Vibrational currency thing. And because someone wants this thing and that one has it, right? The value is equal on either side, not because of the things. They're not, wrestling and you get, oh, I need two of your things to get one of my things. No, because in that moment, this is gold to each being, right? If you're going to want to use a tangible, in the past, monetary type commodity, each being, it's an exchange of value, because this being wants that thing, that they love it, they need it, they want it, whatever, however term you want to put it. And this one, what they're getting, it's perfect.
Well, High Vibe Tribe just offered BZ, the streams come from all directions towards me. A friend gave me a bag of apples, for example, and another gave me a big check last week out of the blue to help me with my camper van build. You see that? So I agree. I understand what you're saying there, because I've seen it in my own life too, right? That very same sort of thing there. And again, it's I wanted to say to you, High Vibe Tribe, because she mentioned up here, what is a challenge for me is to do what you say, Sheila, about only doing what brings the most joy. And just to be clear, a lot of people, I think, misunderstand me whenever I say that. Like, I'm just going to be happy all the time. And, that's not what I mean. But in every moment that presents itself to me, if there's whatever it is, and it sometimes there might be more than one or two answers, but I'm stopping and feeling into myself like, I don't know, let's take something really easy. Lisa's going to the grocery store and maybe she'd like a little company, and she says, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store. You want to go with me? I feel into it a little bit. Well, if it brings me joy to go, I'm going to go. I might not need anything. I don't need it. There's no reason I got to go, but hey, it brings me joy, so I'm going to go. Or, I'm not feeling it, so I think I'll just stay home. And it sounds maybe silly, but for me, I'm looking at even the mundane things. Would it bring me joy to go in there and do those dishes right now? Not really. So is it going to hurt if those dishes sit in there for a little while until maybe I want to do them? Actually, no, it's not going to hurt anything or anybody. And so, I mean, that's what I mean. I hope that was helpful for you. But
can I play with that for just a minute?
Sure.
So a question that comes up, I'm not sure where it came from, but I'll just put it that way. So, like, for example, it brings you joy to as long as it's not bringing you pain, to help other people. Yes.
Well, are you asking me this or?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. It depends on what I'm feeling in the moment as to whether or not because honestly, I don't know. I mean, in this moment, it depends. So yeah, I'll have to say it like that. I guess overall, yes, but this is sort of a hypothetical, right? Because that too, I feel into. Would it bring
Yes,
me
no, it is a hypothetical. So I'm saying that so things can be because there's lots of different streams. So
right?
again, I think because I felt it before. Some people at times think, well, I have a hard time with was you're always la-di-da happy, or just it's just on a chaise lounge and there's a mai tai and someone's fanning you, sort of a thing. And
Oh no, and I don't think that would actually bring me joy. So thank
no,
you.
I know, but you know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's well, because given the construct that we're leaving, that
Right.
is on purpose, right? Because we have to be, you can't think of yourself first and all that kind of stuff. We have to be pulled out of that. So it could be, and the scenarios you painted, you could be that Lisa asks if you want to go, and you feel it, and then you look and you realize that maybe it hasn't been talked about yet because she wants to keep it to herself, but there's something that she either wants to talk about or would really appreciate having it. The same thing. You could still say, "No, I don't really want to go," or "Yeah," right? So you would add that into your equation and feeling into it. May or may not change it, right? But it could be that in that moment, from your forget Lisa, from your feeling into it, that and that moment that gives you the highest joy. Well, yeah, you could just stay home and do whatever, this, that, or the other thing, but you're feeling that would be maybe there's a surprise, or maybe that challenge would be helpful for you, or whatever. Does that say what I'm saying? So it is changeable in the moment, but it includes all of those things. It isn't just, I don't know, whatever someone likes to do, if they're just eating ice cream or getting a pedicure or whatever, right? So you can go out and do something that's hard work, right? And that, well, I'm kind of tired, I don't really want to do that, but then you envision it done, or you envision the creation that came from you in doing it, and you go, well, yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, I am tired, but I kind of like it, right? Does that make sense? So I think that was helpful for people to understand too, because it's specific to each individual being, and no one else's take on it is relevant except for that being. And it does change and add other components into it in any given moment.
Well, and this applies to this conversation in a couple of ways too, because
Hold on a second. Your mic is not picking you up again. So you're just going to,
okay,
there you go.
so this applies to the conversation in a couple of different ways. Because when you were talking, BZ, I was thinking about my own strike with the housework. Because I had to challenge that, my guidance was telling me to choose happiness in every moment and to follow my highest excitement, and everything will get taken care of. And I said, no, it can't possibly. There's just too many things that have to get done that I don't want to do. So we're stuck. And they said, okay, then don't do them. Just don't do them. So I said, all right, challenge accepted. And I did nothing. I mean, I literally did nothing, because apparently that was bringing me great joy. That moment of then. Until, the level of pain and suffering I had to endure to keep hating the housework. All of a sudden, I realized, oh, hold up. There actually is a moment in time where I want to clean my house, because I value cleanliness. I value, well, it's healthier. It's healthier for my mind, healthier for my body. I realized I value a clean house. A clean house brings me great joy. I can get on board with that. And I have to say, I clean my house like it's never been cleaned before. It was about a 4-day bender that I just couldn't stop until everything I owned had been touched and reevaluated by me with an open and loving heart for the first time ever. And so now, because I value certain things in my life because they bring me joy, I've included those rituals and I actually look forward to them. I'm excited to clean my house. I'm excited to do dishes. I love to do laundry because I value clean clothes and feeling fresh and looking nice. So a lot of things I realized were the way I was holding them,
Yes,
that was
yes,
making them not
yeah.
joyful, and really had nothing to do with the chore in and of itself.
And they were blocking you from your joy, whatever that was, because it was this thought construct, right? This that it equates actually with that money thing construct
Yes.
that was separating you from it, and putting up and adding all of this extra time to everything else that you were doing or not doing that was tainting it in different ways, because it was this big ball of I want to do it, right? And it was the construct, that mind bender sort of a thing, that was the problem, not walking around it or taking it out and put it in the trash and doing the thing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so that's another great example of what we're talking about coming through to the other side of this.
Yeah, and it feeds into to help. It helped me to reassess what I value,
Yes.
and what's, because when I first discovered the fraud, I was, well, I knew it. I knew it was a fraud since I was 5 years old. Like when I realized what money was and that you couldn't just go to the shopping center and get supplies without paying for them. Like when I really understood that concept, I thought, wow, like I don't get that. And when I learned that it was based on like a scarcity thing, there's not enough to go around, man, I knew that was a lie. Look at these shelves. They're full.
We're the
You know,
only
they're,
species that needs to pay to live on planet Earth.
yeah, how ridiculous is
It's
that?
very ridiculous. And it's not the way it was set up. It's not the way that it was set up. It was hijacked. It's part of the hijacking. Everything is prepaid, pre-approved, and pre-authorized. You have a public utility. It's for the public. And you don't get a bill, you get a statement. Anybody who's ever had a business or done business with someone who owns a business, if they're sending you a bill, they send you an invoice. They don't send you a statement. They're
well,
different.
I know that that's true. I don't quite grok all of that, and maybe that's another show.
That's a very, very different show.
But I wanna call something out that just took place in the comments that I adore, and it's actually really kind of the basis for me anyway of the way forward. So Q Team, Tim Pasternacki, shared that he wants to have a car detailing business.
Okay.
And there were several folks and oh yeah, I'd love it if you'd come clean my car, right?
Right.
And they were talking about the exchange. And see, that's he said, let's see, Jennifer Brown said, I would exchange for having my car detailed. And he said, return for me is dinner. I'm simple. And yes. And so Jennifer actually even put down all the different things that she can do, and see, this is why for me, the way forward really is a conscious co-creative community. Because okay, so Jennifer put in the comments, I can do plumbing, carpentry, cook, sew, and see, all of us, every last one of us have a ton of skills, that we've developed, that we've had to
From the
use. That
body of work of our life.
absolutely. And so there's ways,
endless potential to learn more.
Yeah.
right?
And most important, there's an awful lot of things that every single being, and they could be all vastly different or some similar, doesn't matter. There are things that you do that you're really good at, that they're easy, but you discount them. It doesn't even occur to you that they're a skill or a service or a value, because they're just, you just do that thing, and and there's and if someone looks at you and goes, "How do you do that? That's so cool," you go, what are you talking about? Just right. And you have to kind of back out of it to see what it is. So, but again, that's valuing, that's an internal. So this, the title we started with here is recalibrating our inner and outer relationship with money and valuing, and the exchange of valuing with others. That's where it starts, because someone can plump down, the QFS or whatever other thing is out there and say, "Here it is, you go." It won't survive. It will not flourish. And if you didn't like where you were now, just leaving, you sure as heck aren't going to like anything else that does not address the recalibration of the inner and outer valuing of you and exchange with others, because that is what is in alignment with your soul, with how the universe and multiverses work. And that is what is in alignment with the frequencies that are coming and here and more. And anything that's not in alignment with the frequencies that are flooding, flowing, overwashing in toto the whole planet will not stand.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Jennifer Brown, you will need to reach out to Lisa about that. Jennifer, ask if you do any life coaching, Lisa. So
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am thinking along those lines of maybe working with folks in that fashion. Yeah.
well, I mean, they've gotten a pretty good example about what hanging out with you look like, because I've changed quite a bit from what I used to be, because that's just pretty.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just hanging out with me. You did the work.
Well, I know that that's true. I realize that, but
I had nothing to do with it.
but understand very clearly here, because I've never made it any secret. The whole point of this channel was for my conscious growth, my consciousness expansion. And so, yes, you're right. It couldn't have happened without me. Absolutely true. Without the two of you, and quite frankly, all the rest of you guys in the chat, the ones that'll watch this later, as far as I'm concerned, you've all participated in my particular growth and expansion, because none of this would have taken place in this way had we not all come together and experienced this completion in each one of these. And I love that you coined that term, BZ. Each one of these energetic envelopes, there has always been a completion. I didn't always see it before, but I feel it within me now that it was always there, always there. And ever so grateful to all of you, including, like I said, all of you that tune in and ask questions and contact me, or hit me up for a reading, or chat with me in PM or whatever, because it all adds for me anyway. And between Jennifer and Q team, once the conscious co-creative community gets found, once the tiny house building begins, you all will have to come and hang out, because they're both talking about building houses and whatnot. So yeah, that's the thing, is realizing all of the different skills that we do have, like, that we do share them generally. I feel like everybody has the opportunity should they choose. We all walk around, or I used to walk around. Um, I won't use the word terrified because I don't know that I've ever been terrified, bar that one time. But scared to death that we're not going to be able to do this, that, or the other kind of thing. And so we don't actually do that surrender trust fall that we were talking about in the stepping into the unknown earlier today,
Yeah.
because we don't trust ourselves. We don't, we've been sold this bill of goods about what this reality is, who we are, the whole ball of wax. And so, we came by that whole not trusting ourselves pretty honest. I mean, but the time now for that is so much.
Well, we jumped in whole hog to it, and we perpetuated it, and we were complicit in it, and we were actively engaged in and passively engaged in, and are we ready to stop out of it now? And you know, do we value ourselves? And how do we? Let me count the ways.
Yeah, and I want to say too, before we actually start wrapping this one up, everyone who wants to reach out, give ideas, comments, share information, whatever you see, sense, and feel for the moving forward. Because I just, for me, like I said, I know that there are lots of folks, because of, the climate and everything, that send me stuff about, I've said this before, GSARA, NISARA, QFS, the, whatever's and what alls and the different ways. And for me, I just see it as more of the same. And there's been, when you really look into it, that, re-phoenixing of the system. But it won't work this time. And so,
well, actually, if you notice, none of them have worked. They keep coming, like, right? I can't even think of who's the guy forever on the dinar.
oh,
He
I don't,
finally died, and somebody else took up the thing. But anyways, yeah. And there's a reason why it hasn't worked, because there has been a force keeping it from working.
Okay. Well, see, that's just it. I just did. I never felt, and I'm not saying that it isn't, but I've just never felt like it would. So I don't know. Well, thank you, High Vibe Tribe. She said, I love this chat and the folks here. Sheila, I love that you read out what we share here. Well, because the gals
You
can't.
can't see it.
And by the way, if somebody were to start this replay 5 minutes after we all stop, you won't get to see the live chat until the video is processed tomorrow. So there's that too. That's another reason I do it. So thank you for noticing that, High Vibe Tribe. Jennifer Brown said, how about making paper, homeopathy, plant medicine? I'm in love with this whole day, lovelies. Well, we are all love absolute. Yes, that's true. And yes, see, I too would love to explore, because I've seen all those, crafting videos about making your own paper. I'm experimenting with, oil infusions. There's a whole lot of things that we that we would love to be able to do, that also will support not just our bodies and our hearts and our minds and everything, but that can also be exchanged, so
Well, and there's a valuing, and a community valuing too. So come here is the Celtic term that comes to mind, but in the Irish village, if there's haying fields that need to be hayed, all the surrounding farms will get together and they'll go do Patrick's thing and Liam's thing and this, not because they have to, not because they should, but because it's what you do. It's come here. It's where you are part of the community, and it's joyful. And usually there may be a cele afterwards, or there may be, you know, a get together. They're doing a music thing or whatever else. It's a way to create, and nothing is wanted to paid or owed. It's there. It's being valuing each other, valuing community and connection, and it's what you do because it's who you are. And if you don't want to in that moment, then you don't do it. It's right.
Right.
Because if you don't want to and you're there and you're bitching and moaning because you don't want to be there and you're not part of it anyways. You're not the same frequency vibration, and no need to be there because it's not part of that vibe.
What came in for me just then when you were speaking on how you know, they do that over there, and that used to be done over here too, but you see the moving from small contained units of, you know, families and communities into the bigger conglomeration of, you know, the masses of humanity that, you know, are on that treadmill through the city, right? And moving from that to that is where we got, in my view, when looking at this, what came in for me is that's how that removing out of the community thing. Now there are lots of folks that live in cities that do still, you know, do things in their communities. Yes, I realize that that's so, and I'm not saying that it's totally gone, but it's certainly not the norm.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if we have time. Maybe I'll hold it for another time. But there's something that has been coming to me in full color videos and schematics since 2012 as whether I have a hand in setting up the program or just putting it out there, or someone else has someone else has the same idea. But there's a where you have communities that are global communities. So what I mean is, it may be, you know, there's a couple, one or two towns in Western Washington, and then there may be some in Zimbabwe, and there may be something in Argentina or another place in Maine, right? You know, and through the abilities and connectivity of Zoom and technology, or as an example, right? You have these things, and someone's working on a water thing, or creating an irrigation thing, or creating, I don't know, some kind of, maybe it's a medical electromagnetic frequency bed or whatever. And so this portal hub is a way to bring all of that in, and people can go, it's like a living library, and people can access all the different things and all the, so Zimbabwe is right next door. It's right there. You know, Arlington, Washington meets Zimbabwe, a town in Zimbabwe, and they're right next to each other, and they can live stream back and forth what's going on, and then it's part of the library. So the next ones who are interested in that particular thing can go and build it, or they create something that's an add-on to, hey, we did this, right? So yes, it's all local and global. So it's all one and individual at the same time. And it has, again, that, you know, we talked about where towards the beginning, where someone wants to play their game, and I'm sure they're sure that there's going to be others who want to play their game, and has the same idea, and then they come together and they're playing this game, right? So but it's interesting because it comes, well, I don't remember the dreams, but it comes in day visions where the video screen goes on, and it's, you know, happening, and we're doing this and doing that, and it's, so this is what's already out there in the pre-matter template form. And when we begin to value ourselves and move beyond just extricating ourselves from that, or shying away from, or I don't want that anymore, so I'm not going to charge money, I'm not going to pay this or that, whatever, we're just barely getting out of, instead of fully blooming, right? Anyways, all those things are already, and I know I'm not the only one who has felt, seen, partaken in all of these different things that are similar or completely different, right? And it's pulling that forward and actualizing it that's going to happen. Because if you're waiting for Trump or anyone else to do it for you, you're in big trouble. Just like if you're waiting for someone to have a headline that says, take your mask off now, forget it.
No, you're
Because
right
until
about
all those beings who are in control, and there's a lot of, little mini me's all the way down, like with, a hair apple maggot here in this state, that will come in. So you can wipe them off the face of the planet, right? Biden and all the rest who love all that kind of stuff, you could dematerialize them, right? And unless you get them all, right? Or they can be loved into recalibrating their own energy for its uniqueness of what it is. It's not going to happen until you decide to say, that's good for you, you go over there, but this community is going to be this, which is interchange and exchange and cooperation and uniqueness and individuality all at the same time. We do it.
Speaking as one who's lived in that kind of a situation now for 4 years, we've lived in co-creative conscious community here. It feels like it's the future for me. I prefer it. It's the only way forward. That feels sustainable to me. So I don't know. We'll see, won't we? I want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out and participating in the chat. You guys really rock, I gotta say. Do either one of you guys have anything else you'd like to offer before we end this particular envelope?
You are the currency, and you're shinier than any piece of gold or silver ever could be.
I just wanted to say thank you for playing, ladies. I value you, and thank you for coming to join us and participating in the chat room. I value you. And let's build something we wish to explore together.
Yeah, that's that. I love that. I absolutely love that.
And as I go down the road to building what I'm building in my next phase, I may put out the word that I may want some people to come and test what they think of things. So
nice.
Well, we will definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to that, BZ. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye out and an ear out for that development. Well, thank you guys in the chat so much. I love you all so very, very much, and I'm very appreciative of everyone that always comes and hangs out with us at any given time. You'll see this later on BZ's YouTube channel. If you've not already subscribed to BZ's channel, there will be a link in the show more section of this video. Please do go over there and subscribe. And the same for her. If you're subscribed over there and not over here, please do come over and subscribe here. Also, I think everybody that's in the chat right now, I don't think there's anyone new, but the IUV is still the receptacle of record for everything that's been going on. And so, I check the IUV at least once a day. I don't do it as much as I used to, because it was always, I was looking for something, but I do at least check once a day. And so do go over there and take a look if you have not. And I guess that's it. I'm trying to think. I don't have any updates on Candy, anything different than I had this morning. And I'm not sure if I'll see you guys tomorrow because I got quite a lot I've got to accomplish tomorrow. You very well may, though. I won't ever count it out. So thank you guys all for coming and hanging out. And both of you too, so very much. I love you guys. Till next time. Mwah. Use joy, everybody.